Welcome to Food, Fun, and Friends. I'm Jen Lobo, and today we'll be highlighting appetizers. Our first appetizer will be honey roasted tomato bruschetts. Our ingredients for today are 2 pints of cherry tomatoes, 1.5 teaspoons olive oil, 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 teaspoons of fresh thyme, a cup of ricotta cheese, and a dash of salt and pepper. Our first ingredient today is 2 pints of cherry tomatoes. You'll take the cherry tomatoes and cut them lengthwise in half. Now we will prepare the tomatoes for the oven. We will use 2 teaspoons of fresh thyme. When removing thyme from the stem, it's best just to drag down along the stem and pull the little leaves off. You don't want any of the stem in with the thyme. 2 tablespoons of honey. And 1.5 teaspoons olive oil. And mix that together in your mixing bowl. After you have thoroughly mixed it together, you're going to add a teaspoon of salt and just a dash of ground pepper. And continue to mix. Next, we will put a layer of parchment paper on our cookie sheet. It's important to put a layer of parchment paper down because the sugars in the honey will burn on a regular cookie sheet without the parchment paper. So what you do is you actually just scoop out the tomatoes onto the parchment paper, making sure to get all the juices that are in the bowl. You'll want to flip the tomatoes skin side down while cooking. Now they are ready for the oven. Now we will put the tomatoes into a preheated 300-degree oven for 1 hour and 15 minutes. It's been 1 hour and 15 minutes. Let's check our tomatoes in the oven. But in movie time, it's actually only like 4 minutes. Let's see what they're doing in the oven. They look beautiful. Make sure to check the tomatoes often because of the sugars in the honey. It tends to burn sometimes. So you might need a little bit under 1 hour and 15 minutes, but check it after 1 hour. Next, we will make the crostini. You need 1 loaf of French bread or a baguette. We're going to slice the bread in about 1/4-inch thick slices, and we're going to lay them on our cookie sheet. You can bake them in the oven at 375 for about 5 to 7 minutes until they get golden brown. If you have a broiler option, you could broil them as well, less time being 2 to 3 minutes. After you have arranged the crostinis on your cookie sheet, you will drizzle them with some olive oil. Now they are ready to go into the oven. Now that we've prepared the baguettes and seasoned them with olive oil, it's time to put them into a preheated 375-degree oven for 5 to 7 minutes. I would check them after a couple minutes to make sure that they're not burning. Now that it's been 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to check the baguettes to see if they have cooked. They are not toasty brown, but they are cooked enough. Nice and crunchy, just like a crostini should be. Now that everything is prepared, we're going to assemble the bruschetta. You're going to take the crostinis and rub them with 1 clove of garlic. This just adds a little bit more flavor to the dish. It actually adds a nice, subtle hint of garlic. Once you have rubbed the crostinis with the garlic, you're going to take ricotta and spread a layer on top. Once that's finished, you're going to take your honey roasted tomatoes and just put them on top. If you like a lot of ricotta, you can add more. If you're not that big of a fan of ricotta, you could put a little bit less. You'll love the taste of these tomatoes. It's like a little piece of candy. Then to finish them off, sometimes I like to add just a little sprinkle of dried basil. Just adds a little green color to your dish. And here is our honey roasted tomato bruschetts. And this is how food, fun, and friends come together.